So I've hit a new low. I am recording on the day of the upload. I don't know if today will be the day of the upload. I've been inspired by my most recent binge episode and complete demotivation episode that I don't want to say I'm recovering from, because I don't know if I'm actually done with it. While I go through these episodes, I tend to do nothing but watch YouTube. Luckily though, my algorithm always brings me to fitness and nutrition videos, so I actually binge watch those. So at least when I'm binging on YouTube videos and food and don't do anything productive, I am at least continuing to educate myself with these fitness channels. Just through watching all of this content, I became a little bit more reflective on my own journey and my own story, and I started thinking about some of the things that I have learned throughout my weight loss challenge, throughout my weight loss journey. And I thought, hey, why not make a video out of it? There are so many things that go into the whole topic, so I wrote down the things that I thought were the most important type of things that I have learned, I think. Not only about the weight loss process, but also about being overweight. Because believe it or not, there are a number of ways that you can be overweight, and there are different approaches to being overweight and living a life of an overweight person. I thought, who's more qualified than someone who's been overweight her entire life, who's been trying to lose weight her entire life? The things that I will be discussing in this video, I think they apply to different fitness and lifestyle goals, but I think that because my own experience is that of weight loss and being overweight, I will be talking about these points from weight loss perspective. Let's get into it, because I have a few that I want to cover and I don't want to make this video super long. So the very first thing that I want to talk about is what actually sparked the whole idea for this video, and this was my reflective moment. It's before even stepping into the gym or stepping on the scale or starting a diet or doing anything towards weight loss or weight gain or whatever the goal might be. It's very important to understand the issue and the origin of where it's coming from. What I mean by that is, let's talk in the context of weight loss, like I said. So for example, you've gained some weight, let's say, right? Before anything else happens, I think it's very important to understand, was it a one-off because you had a stressful time at work, or you had some health issues and you've gained some weight, but you've never previously had this issue before, versus you've been overweight your entire life, like myself, and this is something that you've struggled with and you've dealt with your entire life. And I'll explain why this is important again on my personal example. For the most part, I've treated me being overweight as a physical issue, just because I didn't know better, and also this is how everyone else around me kind of treated it and taught me pretty much, you need to train more, you need to eat less, etc., whatever bullshit you heard in your environment when you were growing up. So I always treated it that way without giving it much of a thought. I always thought that if I have a physical goal, I need to approach it from a physical standpoint, right? It kind of makes sense. And I also think that in that first scenario where you've been eating well and you've been more or less fit your entire life, and only due to a certain situation in your life you've gained weight, I think that that approach is valid, and I think that that approach works. You have a physical issue, you deal with it in a physical way. I don't know if that makes any sense, the way I'm phrasing it, but I think that you know what I mean. However, for some of us, and it took me way too long to realize this about myself, and again, not my fault, I'm not blaming myself for that, just because I wasn't given enough resources to understand this issue better, due to my environment, because in my environment no one really understood this as well. I wasn't exposed to the right type of information and to the right type of advice. Due to this, I've also developed a lot of misconceptions and wrong ideas about my own situation and how to deal with it. It took me years of, I want to say, like, therapy slash working on myself and working on my mental health to understand that my personal issue is not a physical one. It doesn't originate in my body, it originates in my brain. I've been overweight my entire life, so it's not just a matter of a certain situation triggering my weight gain. It's been there my entire life from when I was a child. And I'm also, at this point, I'm very well educated on nutrition and fitness, and I know what to do in order to lose weight, and it's still not easy for me. So I know for a fact, through some work, through some digging, through some self-reflection that I've done, that my issue originates in my brain, and therefore it's an emotional issue. It's a mental health issue. It's not as simple as saying you just need to reduce your calories and you need to increase your activity levels. It's not that black and white. Food for me personally is a coping mechanism. When everything else seems to completely crumble, food is the only safe place for me. And I am still in the process. I haven't even scratched the surface of learning how to deal with it. I am still very much learning. I'm still overweight. I'm still trying to lose weight. I'm in a much, much better place now than I was, let's say, 5, 7, 10 years ago. But I am still learning. And I think that I will forever, for the rest of my life, I will be learning, how to deal with this and how to heal from the inside and how to not turn to food as a safety blanket. I've done it my entire life, so it's not as easy as just being like a switch in your brain that goes off and you're like, I don't need this anymore. Also, a little bit of a background. I used to be a nicotine smoker, 20 a day. That was my safety blanket too. And so when I used to smoke, my weight was much more manageable because I think that responsibility didn't fall completely on food. It was kind of split between smoking and eating. When I stopped, which was January 1st, 2020, I only had food left, and I really, really felt it. And this is when I gained most of my weight, and this is when I started getting my binging episodes, my depressive episodes. This is when my mental health just went downward, and I'm still trying to recover from it, and I'm still trying to help myself somehow to get out of this without going back to smoking. Obviously, I don't want to start smoking again because that wouldn't be fixing the issue. That would just be prolonging and making it worse. But I'm trying to understand now what else I can do for myself to deal with my triggers and my emotional states sometimes that I go into. And listen, you can do it simultaneously. I am doing it. I'm still trying to figure it out while also working out and trying to eat healthy and educating myself on all things nutrition and fitness. But I think that it's so important and cannot be ignored. Approaches for both should be different, in my personal humble opinion. If this is like a lifelong issue that you've had, you can only physically push yourself that much. When I started really educating myself on the basics of nutrition and fitness, one, I became much more confident in what I was doing. Two, I started enjoying it more, especially when it comes to fitness. When I started learning the right technique and when I started getting it, and I started understanding how to do certain things and why, I started enjoying it, and I became much more consistent with my gym journey. And I am much more confident now in the gym too, about what I'm doing and why I'm doing like that, so that if anyone comes up to me and asks me, why are you doing it this way, I can actually explain, which is so important for me personally. I just have a personality where I need to understand why I'm doing something. It's not good enough for me to just blindly follow someone else's instructions. I need to understand why I'm doing what I'm doing in everything in life, not just in fitness and nutrition. There are so many great creators on YouTube or TikTok who are professionals in their fields, and they know what they're talking about, and they will explain in a very understandable manner without getting into too much detail, but in a very digestible, very easy to absorb manner. They will explain why eating a certain way is better for you, or why exercising a certain way is better for you. I would start with understanding calories and macronutrients. I would also get the basic understanding of training of different muscles, by no means learning the muscle names, but like the main muscles probably, yeah, you know. If you want a bigger butt, like at least understand the muscles that are in your butt. I think that that's a really good start. And I would also try to understand the difference between cardio and strength training and stuff like that, and also what muscle does to your body, because a lot of people have misconceptions about muscles and their function in the body, and why it's important to have muscle mass. I think that this one is pretty obvious. Well, maybe not to some. It wasn't to me for sure for a long time. I have quite a bit of weight personally that I would like to lose. And so I know that this is not just a 1 month project. Like, it's not just 6 weeks of me doing something and then going on with my life. It's probably going to take me months personally to get where I want to get. So for me, it's super important because it's a long-term project, and that is to find what I love doing. And we often look at losing weight or gaining weight or working on our physique as this burden, really unpleasant, really negative experience that we just need to get through, and then we'll be okay, and then we'll be fine. Where in reality, it doesn't really have to be that way. So I think that it's super important to invest time into finding what you love to do, both fitness and nutrition. My personal experience with food has been very, very rocky. I'm not a great cook. I never liked to cook. So what I would do is I always would make the easiest, the most boring. I would repeat these recipes over and over again. And I'm talking boring, like tuna salad or boiled chicken and rice type of situation, right? I've learned after a couple of years of doing it, I've learned that it's not really working for me. Like, I'm getting bored of it without even realizing. Like, I think I'm okay, but I think that my subconscious rebels at some point and I start binging. Lately, I have a little bit more time at home, so I started cooking a little bit more because I have a little bit more time to do it now. Also because I started this channel, I started thinking of different recipes that I could do on camera and maybe try. And so I really started looking into different recipes. I kind of like the idea of making something myself, to know exactly what ingredients are in there. So I started looking up different recipes for gluten-free bread or like a healthy alternative to desserts, because this is what I'm binging on lately, a lot of ice cream and pastries and stuff like that. So I decided that why not look up some alternatives, delicious desserts that are also healthier, have less calories in them. So this is what I started doing. I only started doing it a couple of months ago, but I can already feel the difference in just not just satisfaction, physical satisfaction, but also my mental satisfaction with what I'm eating. I am enjoying what I'm eating much more. I also started enjoying the process of cooking and experimenting and trying different things. I understand cooking a little bit better, which is all natural things. When you do more of something, you become better at it. So, and with fitness, it was very similar experience for me as well. Now, I love many types of fitness. I was blessed with not being very picky and being quite active actually. I liked running, I liked sports, I liked volleyball, basketball, I liked many different types of sports. And then now as an adult, I also like gym, I like lifting weights, I like cardio. But I remember there was a point in my life when I think about 5 years ago, when I was kind of stuck. I don't remember why, but I didn't enjoy the gym. I didn't know very well how to do it. And it so happened that I knew someone who was a dance teacher, and so I joined her class and I started dancing. And that has obviously upped my activity levels, but it was something that I really, really, truly enjoyed doing. It was like a class setup, so going there, kind of socializing while learning routines and like being good at it, and it stuck. There was a year in my life when I did it like quite seriously. I would post videos on Instagram and stuff like that, so I did really, really did it seriously. Now I don't do it as often. Now gym is more my thing, but I still dance sometimes. I don't care anymore if I'm even good at it or anything like that. I just do it for myself, just to do something different, just to give my body a different type of movement as well. So this is it on that. This is my point. It's very important to find something that you love doing, eating, etc., etc., especially if you want to do it for a long time, because it will increase your chances of sticking with it significantly. You know, you will be happier, you will be more fulfilled, and at the same time, you will slowly but surely work towards your goals in terms of your physique and your health and your fitness and all those things. If I was starting out now, and let me take it back. Even when you're not starting out, overcomplicating is not the way to go, and it's not going to benefit you in the long run or even in the short term. If you are very present online and you're looking at different workouts and that people are trying to sell or just showcase, or different nutrition plans on how is this celebrity eating, how is this person eating, and it's very tempting to try what they are doing, even though this is not the basics what they're showing. It's kind of either more advanced or really very unnecessary variations of very basic moves in the context of fitness now, let's say, and weight training. There are many exercises that are not really necessary. People just do them sometimes because they're either bored with their regular workouts or because they have clients who they are afraid are gonna get bored of doing the same movements over and over again. So they come up with all these variations of the basic moves. If you're someone just starting out, you don't know much about nutrition, you don't know much about fitness, you don't know much about weight training or even cardio, I truly believe that it's best to stick to the basics. And it goes in hand with that point which I mentioned, that try to educate yourself on the basics. Now, as tempting as it might be to start jumping into different variations, I would try getting rid of all that noise while I'm learning and while I'm trying to understand what the hell I'm doing in the gym, and I would just stick to the basics. Doesn't mean crunches and treadmill. I mean still going out there, picking up some weights, but in the most basic way possible, and really trying to nail that technique and nail that form before I move on to anything else. And again, the key is to have fun, but I promise you that knowing good technique and good form adds to the fun, you know, because when you know for a fact that what you're doing is right and you feel confident in what you're doing, especially when it comes to the gym and to the weights, a bit of a tricky territory. So I think especially for women it might be very empowering and very much fun to know what you're doing in that area, you know what I mean? So this is just my 2 cents on that. My next point is a bit more specific to the actual process of weight loss or weight gain. It's about finding ways to diversify how you track progress. And what I mean by that is, I know we all probably were taught that scale is the way to track your progress. Almost all the fitness professionals use, in almost every gym you can see the scale, you know, it's like industry standard. And I own a scale, you know, I have one in my apartment. Do I use it daily? God no. Do I use it weekly? No. I maybe use it like once a month, even sometimes every 2 to 3 months, when I just want to know what's going on in my body. And you know, sometimes you do need to know your weight. Your doctor might ask it, someone else. There are situations in life where you might need to know your weight. I know people that step on a scale every single day, and if you're looking at the weight just as a data, I think that it could really work, you know, daily, weekly, whatever you need, you know, to track your progress. But for someone like me who does have a trauma associated with their weight loss journey and being overweight and their weight in general, you know, for me it can be very triggering. It can actually do the opposite of what it intends to do. What are the alternatives? Like I said, I don't check my weight every week. I do it every month to every 2 to 3 months. I take a progress video probably every 1 to 2 weeks. I also take measurements. You want to know if your body is changing, if you're changing in size. Measurements is a really good way to do it. I also do it once a month because the change will not happen very quickly. Another way that I found only recently, I had clothes that I couldn't fit in a couple of months ago. Just a few pieces, like I think 4 or 5 pieces of clothing that I was really, really interested in fitting into. And I decided to track my progress through that too. So I actually tried them on camera. I believe I also recorded it, and then I just folded them and put them where I can see it, and I take it out again about once a month and I try it on again. And I really like this one actually because It is so satisfying when you can actually fit in them now, or you can close it a little bit more, or it's a little bit looser on you than it was a month ago. Like, it's a very satisfying moment. But also because to be able to fit into clothes that I want to wear, like, this is one of my biggest reasons why I want to lose weight. This is why I like this method so much, because it kind of reminds me why I'm doing this. Same approach doesn't work for everybody. Different people might resonate with different things, with different fitness styles, let's say, with different workouts, with different nutrition plans, need different amount of food, different type of food. We're not just talking men and women, because yes, there are significant differences there, but we are also talking, let's say, just within females, right? Everybody is different, everyone's physique is different. Someone might have a wider frame, someone weighs more. That means that they need a different approach to their workouts and nutrition, how many calories they need to consume every day to be in surplus or in deficit. There are so many variables that go into a good fitness plan, whether it's for weight loss, weight gain, that looking online for workouts that your favorite celebrity does and then trying to do that workout expecting the results similar to hers or his is pointless and is a waste of time. It's much more productive to recognize what your body is like, what you like about it, what features would you like to enhance. Do you have an hourglass figure? Instead of trying to get that boxier look, which you can't genetically get, you can focus on enhancing your figure the way that it already is and making it even better than it already is. Prepare for it to take some time. If you have a big goal, I think it's important to prepare yourself to fail a lot. I think it's important to understand it and really accept it inside, that you're going to fail, quote unquote. You will not do the thing that you promised yourself you will do. In order to avoid you stopping altogether, you need to be able to understand that that's part of the process, and that's okay. It's never pleasant. It does feel like you're just undoing the work that you've been working on so hard for so long. But reality is that it doesn't really work like that. The work just doesn't get undone that easily. A week of not going to the gym is not gonna undo all the work that you've done in months prior. Eating ice cream for a week straight, not recommended. But if this is something that happens, like it happens to me, it's also important to understand that that week is not going to do as much damage as you think. It will certainly do some damage, but it will not do as much damage as you might think. Even if it does, it's okay. Like, it's literally okay. Before I continue to the next point, I just want to give an analogy with my personal experience, which has nothing to do with the weight loss journey, and it's my smoking experience. I was a nicotine smoker. I would smoke 20 cigarettes a day for a big chunk of my life. So I think I started when I was 16 and I stopped in 2020. So it was I want to say like about 15 years. I think I was smoking 20 a day. So I started when I was 16. Ever since I was 18 years old, I kept trying to stop. You know, I cannot tell you how many attempts I've made. There were years when almost every single month I would make an attempt, or maybe even multiple attempts. Even my mother would say to me something along the lines of, how many times can you try? Like, what, did you try and you failed again? I think her intention was like a reverse psychology. She is also a smoker who's never successfully quit. I have to point that out. I think she has some wrong beliefs about smoking too, hence all these comments as well. We're not going to get into it. It's not important. And I kept trying. I ignored, obviously, what she was saying, thankfully. I kept trying. If you think about 15 years, almost like 13 years of consistently actively trying to stop. I've read the books, I've listened to people talk about it, their own experiences and how they've quit. I went to therapy, I did everything under the sun that you can think of. I did hypnosis, I did meditations. Every time I would fail, I would reflect. I would sit down, no more than an hour probably. I would just spend thinking, what happened? Why? What triggered me? A lot of the times it was alcohol. So the way I actually stopped smoking is I stopped drinking at the same time for a year. That would not have happened if I treated every mistake as a mistake and being like upset. I was upset, don't get me wrong. I was very disappointed with myself almost every time that I would start again. But I also would know that I will never give up doing it. I will never give up trying, and I will continue until I figure it out, and I did. I don't care now how many times I failed. Now all I care about is that I no longer smoke. When you look at all of this in the future, when you are there, when you've achieved your goal, you're not gonna care. It won't matter how many attempts it took you. It won't matter what you had to go through to get there. Okay, these last 2 points that I want to make, they're kind of related. Next thing that I've learned, unfortunately quite late into my journey, is that I can't postpone life for reaching a goal, if that makes sense. I was so bad in my early 20s, especially, fallen into this trap of being like, when I lose that weight, then I'm going to be happy, then I'm gonna go to the parties, then I'm going to dress the way that I want, then I'm going to take pictures, then I'm going to do this X, Y, and Z. I did that a lot when I was teenager and in my early to mid 20s. Honestly, it took me such a long time to just love my body the way that it is, which is so important. No matter where you are at the moment or what your goal is, I think that it's so important to remember that your life happens now. It's not gonna happen 6 months from now when you reach that goal, if you reach it. And in my case, spoiler alert, I mean, I'm still working on it 36 years later. When I think about how much of my life I don't like to use this language, but honestly, it feels sometimes like I've wasted it. I've waited to have fun. I've waited to do the things that I wanted to do because I wasn't comfortable in the body that I was in. I would opt out of all the group pictures, and I would opt out of holidays, and I would opt out of nights out and different activities sometimes because I knew that, one, I probably didn't have anything to wear. Two, I would hate the way that I feel and look, and etc, etc, etc. There was a switch that went off in my head at one stage after I've done a lot of self-development work. I don't want to say that one morning I woke up and I was in love with no, but I look at myself, and yes, I know it's not ideal, and also I know that for health reasons I need to keep going and keep working on myself, but at the same time I look at myself and I like what I see in the mirror. Yes, of course, there are days when I'm like, I don't feel the best, I don't look the best, but in comparison to what it was before, where I postponed my life, absolutely put everything on pause until I reached that goal and lost X amount of weight. And guess what? Most of the times I didn't do that. I never reached that goal. I never fully gotten there, and I've never been there long enough to actually appreciate. And this is where we're kind of slightly getting into the next point, and my next point is, keep in mind that when you reach your goal, it might not bring you to that place of happiness that you might be expecting. But I've heard so many times, and I've been there myself, where I would lose so much weight, looking much better and my clothes fitting much better, and instead of feeling that pride and the feeling of accomplishment and that feeling of finally I can live my life, I would feel more disappointment and more expectation from myself, and I would put even more pressure on myself, and I would find something else to kind of be sad about. This is why it's so important to try to work on just accepting yourself as you are and loving yourself in any shape or form, in any size, in any phase of your life. You're gonna love yourself every step of the way. It doesn't matter where you're gonna be, it doesn't matter whether you're gonna reach that goal or not, you're still gonna love yourself, you're gonna be kind to yourself, and you will feel better. You will just be much more content with whatever progress you have made. Everyone has their own journey. Everyone learns differently. Everyone has different experiences. Everyone processes things differently. So whatever your process is, it's perfect. However you are learning, as long as you are learning and you're trying to learn and better yourself, and you're not being mean to yourself, and you're not criticizing yourself for mistakes or for anything else, as long as you're not cruel to yourself, everything you do is perfect. Whatever way you want to learn, whatever way you want to get where you want to get, your life is your life. Nobody can tell you what to do. Nobody can tell you what not to do. I think the most important thing is to enjoy it. Because I don't believe there's any point in doing anything if you don't actually have fun while you're doing it, and if you don't enjoy what you're doing. It's not going to bring you any happiness, even if you reach that goal, but you've absolutely exhausted yourself on the way there, and you've absolutely lost all joy for life on your way there. It's not worth it. Wouldn't it be nicer to get there while also having a lot of fun? I think so. But that's my personal opinion. I am like dying in here, it's so hot. But subscribe if you're not yet subscribed. If you like this video, make sure to like this video. I'll leave a comment if you want to share anything. And I hope that you come back next week for another video. Until then, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.